Okay, my name is Madeline Carbonette. I'm an Assistant Attorney General. I am the hearing officer for this hearing today. I have with me another Assistant Attorney General, Alex Reinbold, but I will be conducting the hearing. This is the hearing for Jacob Brown, license number 1421, docket number 17-008, consolidated with 17-009, consolidated with 17-015, consolidated with 18-001, consolidated with 18-003, consolidated with 18-004, consolidated with 18-005. I would ask that the parties make an appearance for the record.
Anna Dow for the Louisiana Auctioneers Licensing Board, and we do have some claimants here.
Carlos Romanak. I'm an attorney for the State Division of Administration.
And I think we have Mr. Campbell.
Yes, Donnie Campbell.
Well, he's one of the claimants, and he will be up here today on his own behalf.
All right.
Is there any other claimant here?
All right. Is Mr. Brown here?
Mr. Brown has told us in the past that he will not appear. He's currently in treatment. He has already lost his license by voluntarily surrendering. As part of my pre-hearing statement, I'm going to ask this board to formally revoke his license based on the testimony you will hear today.
All right. And as part of your pre-hearing, you have how he's received notice for the hearing today?
Yes, I do.
All right. Then you can go ahead and proceed, Ms. Dow.
Thank you. With regard to that matter, I had already filed, when we began this hearing in March of this year, my original notice of hearing as well as my notice of noncompliance, which are Exhibits A and B. I believe those are already in the record. Today, with regard to this matter, I'm going to offer and introduce into evidence. Well, let me make one comment. We had an order issued by you after the March hearing. I want to make sure that is in the record, and I do have a copy in case anyone does not have it, but it should be part of the record. Sandy, do you have the original of that order?
About the exhibits from the last
Yes,
from
the
March?
exhibits
Yes.
from last March, and I think you have the original of the order. I can put in a copy at this point if you do not have the original. That was issued after that you signed.
I have
You
a
want
copy
this?
of it
You have a
also.
copy of it? I want to make sure that's in the record. This has already been entered as number 1 and number 2 for the state. And I'll make it clear, Auctioneers Licensing Board, since we have the state as a separate party. That's the original notice. I will offer and put into evidence a letter received by email on May 1st, 2018. It's already been presented to the board. It basically says that Jacob Brown has decided to surrender his license to conduct auctions in the state of Louisiana, license number 1421. He understands he may not call auctions or otherwise conduct any auction business in the state of Louisiana as of the effective date of this letter. Jacob understands that the surrender of his license means that he is in the same position as an unlicensed individual. Jacob's decision to surrender his auctioneer's license has been prompted by medical issues that have been debilitating effects on his decision-making, performance, and his general mental condition. Jacob understands and comprehends the language, meaning, and terms and effect of this letter of surrender. He has made this decision knowingly and voluntarily. Attached to this letter is the signed and executed power of attorney granting me authority to submit this letter of surrender on behalf of Jacob Brown, Principal. Sincerely, Lindsey Brown. C. Lindsey Brown on behalf of Jacob Brown. We offer and introduce this into the record. And number, are we going to number the order?
Yes, that should be numbered as 3.
And this will be number 4.
Okay, they're introduced into evidence.
With regard to the notice for today's hearing, this would be number 5, It is the revised and supplemental notice of hearing that was sent to Brown's auction. We show that this was mailed and also, let's see. Yes, it was not picked up by Mr. Brown. We show certified mail and the showing that it basically was not accepted and was returned. We will offer to introduce the notice and the certified information with regard to this is number 5.
All right, it's accepted.
With regard to the notice, we also did send out notices of failure to comply on the following claims. Prior to that particular notice being sent, we sent him a notice on May 22nd, 2018, one for complaint filed by Donnie Campbell of DC Motors, and one filed by the State of Louisiana Division of Administration. This was actually signed for by Cecil Brown. Both of them were in the same notice, and we would make this number 6.
That's in Globo.
In Globo.
It's introduced.
With regard to this, we also have a notice of noncompliance that was sent to Mr. Brown on June 4th, 2018. It was also not accepted, and this would be number 7. This is a complaint filed by Jeff Dauterman. That is all. The earlier notices of noncompliance were put into the record at the original start of this hearing in March of this year.
All right, this is introduced into evidence. It's number 7.
We're going to have 3 witnesses, Mr. Campbell, Mr. Romanov, Carlos, as well as my investigator to testify with regard to these complaints. Does the board wish me to, or do you wish me to take them individually or all at once? You want, in other words, do you make a ruling on each one individually, or do you want to just hear all of them and make a decision at the end?
Oh, hold on a minute. I think we should just hear them all. Yes, we can hear them all at once. And so we need to have all the witnesses sworn at this time.
Okay, would you stand? I believe there are no other witnesses here.
Raise your right hand. Solemnly swear the testimony you give in this matter to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
You're under oath. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Dow, do you feel the need to do an opening statement for the board?
Let me say this again, as I'm asking, we will address all of the issues with regard to the complaints. I have provided everyone, or you should have, all the board members and the 2 AGs, a listing of the complaints filed 1 through 7, the complaints filed 3 through 7 with regard to this matter, so you can follow along. I will follow that list. I'm asking the board to make a decision as to each one of these complaints as to whether there is justification for money to be owed by Mr. Brown to the claimant, and as a result, a finding that the individual claimant can proceed against the bond that Mr. Brown has posted in the amount of $10,000, which is required. We're also asking that the board make a decision as to the revocation of Mr. Brown's license based on the testimony you hear today and the evidence put into the record.
Okay, you can proceed to call your first witness.
Okay. With regard to that matter, we will go ahead and allow the 2 individual witnesses to speak first. That is Mr. Campbell and the State of Louisiana Division of Administration. Mr. Campbell is number 7 at the end, and Division of Administration is number 6 with regard to this matter. So if you would like, we can go ahead. They're sworn. Mr. Campbell, would you like to tell the board what your contention is with regard to what Mr. Brown and Brown's auction owes to you?
Speaking to the mic if you could.
All right.
The mic will not amplify his voice to you. It will only catch it for the video
Gotcha.
video recording.
I'll just speak loud. All right. Well, around October the 31st, they was having an auction. I think it was November the 4th. I dealt with them in the past. The lady I would deal with was named Becky. I brought cars over there, sold them at previous auctions, never had any trouble, had my money. That day I brought 4 cars. The day of the auction, I did go to see what cars sold. 3 of them sold, 1 I did take back with me. The 3 that sold were a 2006 Nissan Sentra, 2004 Volvo S60, and a 1997 Subaru Outback. The Nissan sold for $1,200. The Subaru was $800, and the Volvo was $700. Which we were there. I did ask Becky if she needed the titles. That day she said no. You could bring them, the following week, which I did. When I dropped off the titles, I was informed that my checks would be in the mail within a couple of weeks. And from there, I just every time I would call, I would say they were going to talk to Jacob about it, see what was going on, and then finally they just quit answering my calls and text, and then I proceeded to let the board know, the auctioneer board, what was going on.
And were you paid any money?
No, I
for
wasn't.
anything? Did you receive any of these vehicles back?
No, I haven't.
Okay, because I...
Not these 3, not the 3 that were sold. I did take the one that didn't sell, which was a Suburban. I did take that one back the day of the sale.
All right, so you have not picked up the Volvo.
I had the Volvo still there.
Okay, so in other words, so you're the consignment, and you had a contract with Brown's Auction.
Yes, ma'am.
And do you know what your percentage would have been?
It was $100 sale fee for each vehicle.
So it was a flat rate?
It was a flat rate whether it's sold or not.
Does the board or the officers have any questions for Mr. King?
I don't have any questions. Does the board have any questions?
All right, the next one would be the complaint filed by the state. Ms. Fromenau, to address that.
Yes, ma'am. Okay,
Ms. Stout, can I ask you a question real quick?
Can I get you to spell your last name?
ROMANACH.
Thanks.
Yes, it's part of it. It's in the notes. Not that one, but the current, because there's the second.
Right. Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay. You can go ahead and proceed, Ms. Dowd.
Everyone's been able to find, because you did not file out a formal form, that is a letter with attachments that is actually the complaint filed from the state of Louisiana.
Thank you. I'm Carlos Romanek. I'm an attorney for the Louisiana Division of Administration. On April 18, 2017, the state of Louisiana awarded a contract to Brown's Auction Company, LLC, whose manager is Jacob Brown, to perform auctioneering services for the Louisiana Property Assistance Agency, an office in the Louisiana Division of Administration. Under the terms and conditions of the auctioneering contract, Brown's Auction was obligated to do the following in connection with every auction. 1, deposit with the LPAA the LPAA estimated gross sales from a scheduled auction. Number 2, submit a final accounting to LPAA no later than 5 working days following the auction. And number 3, pay LPAA for all items sold at the LPAA auction, less a deposit with any adjustments necessary to Brown's Auctions commission fee of 5.4% to be computed by LPAA staff with revised payments due either party to be made within 48 hours of the final accounting. An auction was scheduled to take place and did take place on July 8, 2017. Prior to the July 8, 2017 LPAA auction, Brown's Auction deposited with LPAA the LPAA estimated gross sales amount of $215,000. The gross sales amount of the July 8, 2017 auction totaled $255,730. Leaving a balance owed by Brown's Auction to LPAA in the amount of $26,920.58, applying the 5.4% commission fee. On or about July 18, 2017, Brown's Auction issued to LPAA Brown's Auction's Whitney Bank check number 2502, dated July 18, 2017, in the sum of $26,920.58, made payable to DOA LPAA and signed by Jacob Brown. After the state deposited Brown's Auction's July auction check in East Baton Rouge Parish, Brown's July auction check in the amount of $26,920.58 was returned to LPAA for insufficient funds on or about August 1, 2017. Despite LPAA's numerous requests to Brown's Auction and Jacob Brown for payment owed to the state, Brown's Auction and/or Jacob Brown unlawfully retained and converted the state funds from the July 2017 auction totaling $26,920.58. At a subsequent auction on September 9, 2017, Brown's Auction deposited with LPAA the LPAA estimated gross sales amount of $250,000. The gross sales amount of the September 9, 2017 auction totaled $421,165. leaving a balance owed by Brown's Auction to the state in the amount of $148,422.09 after applying the 5.4% commission fee. On or about September 21, 2017, Brown's Auction issued to LPAA Brown's Auction's Whitney Bank check number 2514, dated September 21, 2017, in the sum of $148,422.09, made payable to DOA LPAA and signed by Jacob Brown. After the state deposited Brown's Auction September auction check in East Baton Rouge Parish, Brown's Auction September auction check in the amount of $148,422.09 was returned to LPAA for insufficient funds on or about October 13, 2017. Despite LPAA's numerous requests to Brown's Auction and Jacob Brown for payment and return of the state funds, Brown's Auction and/or Jacob Brown have unlawfully retained and converted the state funds from the September 2017 auction totaling $148,422.09. Brown's Auction and or Jacob Brown have intentionally and willfully withheld the state's funds from the LPAA auctions of July 2017 and September 2017, and they're obligated and liable to the state of Louisiana in the sum of $175,342.67.
Mr. Romanat, with regard to this particular deal, are there any other sums available to the state for recovery, such as a separate bond or insurance?
I'm not aware of any other sources at this time.
So the state does not require the auctioneer who has the state auction to put up any other funds other than what you described today?
They're required to maintain some insurance, but the insurance is not a fidelity bond or any type of insurance like that. It's mostly to cover any kind of any torts that occurred during the auction in the event that perhaps some of the participants in the auction are personally injured, physically injured.
It's a liability policy.
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
Do you know if Mr. Brown had that liability policy in place?
I believe yes, that Brown's auction did have it in place.
Do you know who other auctioneers may have been with regard, who may have participated in that particular auction?
I am not aware of that.
I will tender the witness for any questions from the board.
Does the board have any questions?
Does these numbers do not include any sales tax that would be due on these warehouse items, does it?
I don't know the answer to your questions.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
Double check. Let me double check. I may have an answer. I do not know the answer to your question.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions from the board? You can proceed with your next witness.
Okay, so if y'all want to, you can have a seat over here. You still have, in case something else comes up, if you would just remain. Mr. Phillips? if you will come to the- Mr. Phillips, you've already been sworn, is that correct?
Correct.
And you're here as your capacity as the investigator that I employ for the board's business, is that correct?
That is correct.
And have you had a chance to look through all of the complaints filed against Jacob Brown?
Yes, I have.
First of all, there are two which are not today on our list. One is a complaint by Attorney Ernest Pickett, and the other one is from Wayne and Jeannie Betchen. Is that correct?
Correct.
Do you know the substance of those particular complaints?
Yes, I do.
Could you describe them for the board?
Sure. Both of those matters arise from an auction that was held in DeSeta, Texas last year. The Betchens purchased several items. I have to go in and find exactly what it was. They purchased 3 items: a gooseneck trailer, a boat with a trailer, and an air compressor. At the time that they made the purchase, they paid for the items, and the total was $4,400, which included two $20 notary fees. Betchens received at that time a black bag that had some instruments in it, and I'm talking written documents. They asked about the titles for the vehicles and were told that they would be supplied to them. It took a number of months for them to finally arrange to have the titles sent to them. And that turned into another problem in them actually receiving. I was able to confirm just prior to one of our meetings that the Betchens did in fact receive the titles that they needed, with the exception of the gooseneck trailer, which I believe was a homemade trailer and did not have a title. So they were then faced with the problem of having to prove the trailer to the state in order to get a title for it. I don't know if they've actually done that, but at their request, I ceased any further involvement. They were satisfied that they had received the title for the boat.
And on Mr. Pickett?
Mr. Pickett was very similar, in fact, and had made a purchase and had, I'm sorry, jump around here. He purchased 3 trailers at the auction in DeSeta, Texas. 2 trailers were purchased for $800 each and the third for $900. He went ahead and paid for those items at the time of the auction. The titles were never sent. Pickett dealt with Alicia Guerin, who was over the Texas office, along with Ken Bueller, and they went back and forth over recovering notary fees that were improperly applied, as well as getting the titles for the vehicles. They were finally able to coordinate, and they received the papers on February 19th. And when I say they, Mr. Pickett. So he also asked that no further action be taken on his behalf.
And of course, both of those were involved in auctions that were only in Texas, is that correct?
Correct.
And the titles on the various vehicles were also in Texas?
Yes.
So I notified both parties that we were not going to continue. The Bedgens do have a formal complaint filed in Texas against Jacob Brown with regard to this sale, and we have taken no further action at the request of both complainants, as well as there's a question of jurisdiction. Further, I believe we endeavored as the Louisiana State Board to obtain and get those titles to the correct person, and therefore we have resolved those 2 issues without formal hearing. We're letting you know that, though, because at the beginning of this hearing in March, they were still an issue. We have resolved things. Now, with regard to the remainder, our list next would be a complaint filed by Jason Abels.
Jason Abels purchased, I believe it was a Jaguar.
This is all.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. Jason Abels was a consignor of a vehicle, which was sold at auction by Mr. Brown. And he was never compensated for that sale. The values of the vehicles at sale varied wildly. One number, I believe, was $900.
I believe that is the official number that he said was the complaint. He also said he received a partial payment after Mr. Brown received notice from us. Is that correct?
That is correct.
But he never was fully compensated, nor did he receive an account of it.
Correct.
So,
And now that I'm back on the page, Abels was told initially that the Jaguar sold for $1,600. And that the buyer reneged and the vehicle was then resold for $400. Mr. Abels, through proxy bid, was able to determine the vehicle actually sold for $900. And at the end of it, he received a check for $300 as payment for the sale of the Jaguar.
does the board have any question with regard to the Abels complaint? I believe that particular auction was held in Louisiana.
That was held in Louisiana.
To go on to number 4, the complaint filed by Transcan Group.
Transcan is a manufacturer and an importer with operations based in China, North American offices in British Columbia. They shipped a flatbed trailer with materials that they had manufactured, equipment that they had manufactured, and they had done that before with Jacob. And he would sell them at auction and then remit the monies back to Transcan. The items that were shipped here were sold, and they were told that the sale amount was only roughly $15,000 and that the money would be sent. Did not come to Transcan. They tried to negotiate getting paid, number of emails, an entire string of emails between Jacob, Alicia Guerin, and Transcan. In fact, I've got these broken out. Give me a moment.
And we do have some of those emails that are attached in your file.
I was able through one of their administrators at Transcan, they sent me the entire email string between Transcan and Jacob Brown and Alicia Guerin, who again was over in Texas. Oh, I'm sorry, no, back in Perugia. Those items were sold here. They reflected that they sold the items for $15,210. They did not wire the money as requested. Instead, repeatedly told them that they had mailed a check. At some point in that email correspondence, the chief administrative officer of Transcan sent an email, and I believe mistakenly put down that they had received the check. Based on that, Jacob's response was, "We sent you the check and you got it." They had asked to get a copy of the check from Jacob's bank. He would not supply it, and always deferred to the fact that they had acknowledged that they received the check. And the last I spoke with them, they still had not received the check.
And the amount due again, if you would,
$15,210.
but they did receive an accounting, they just did not receive the
They
check.
received an accounting, but they did not receive the check.
All right, then number 5 is a complaint filed by Jeff Dotterman.
Jeff Dotterman is in, I believe, Urbana, Illinois. He purchased a 1981 Corvette online from the Beceta, Texas auction. When he received the vehicle, he did not receive a title. He did not have a key for the vehicle, and there were other issues related to that. Basically, Jacob and his office repeatedly told him that they were going to get the title to him, that there was a problem with the Deloach estate. Finally, Jacob worked out on a Louisiana title form that he had actually been the owner of the vehicle, I believe, and then sold it. Let me look at it exactly. No, he has that John Deloach sold it to Jacob, who in turn then sold it to Dotterman, all of which is not accurate. Dotterman went to the Illinois Office of Motor Vehicles to title the vehicle, and they refused to do so based on the documents that were supplied by Jacob. Additionally, Jacob had told him that he would withhold, I believe, $1,500 from the sale proceeds to compensate him for getting a branded title, or there they call it a bonded title, which would facilitate him getting a legal title to the vehicle, as well as compensate him for a locksmith to reproduce a key for the vehicle. And none of that ever materialized either. So he filed a complaint with us. I believe in turn, we had him file a complaint with Texas.
That's correct.
Dotterman also filed a complaint with the Louisiana Used Motor Vehicle and Parts Commission. They gave him some advice on how he could possibly handle titling the vehicle, but as the sale took place in Texas, they did not take the complaint.
And that is true. But what is the relationship of this particular transaction with Louisiana, to your knowledge?
I believe it is because Jason did the sale documents on Louisiana. Jacob, I'm sorry. That Jacob did some of the execution on Louisiana forms.
And that it was actually sold in a Texas auction.
Correct.
Mr. Dotterman has filed a complaint with Texas.
Yes.
Confirmed that with Texas. Has he also, filed a complaint with Used Motor Vehicle?
Yes.
Do you know, has Used Motor Vehicle advised that this is something that can be fixed?
I spoke with one of the investigators there, and I was told that they did not advise him how he could resolve this.
Okay, so at this point, now you heard the testimony from the state of Louisiana
Yes,
and also the testimony of Mr. Campbell.
yes.
Do you have anything to add to either one of those complaints?
On a side note to the Department of Administration's complaint, I believe the question was asked about sales tax. Because the sale was perfected in East Baton Rouge Parish, Jacob was obligated to pay sales tax to the city parish of East Baton Rouge, and did not. So they have filed a civil action in the 19th Judicial District to resolve that issue of the unpaid taxes.
Do you know if that has gone to judgment?
I do not believe it has. It was just filed, I believe, back in March.
What about Mr. Campbell? Anything to add to that?
No, I don't think there's anything I can really add to what Mr. Campbell said.
Okay. With regard to Jacob Brown, do you know the present whereabouts of Mr. Brown?
I do not.
Do you know of anyone who does?
I believe his mother does.
Okay. But other than that, he is unreachable?
Yes.
Does he have, do you know his current address or
No.
any address he may have had?
In the past, yes, but nothing since, I'll say, January of this year.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Phillips? With regard to this matter, I'm urging again that you make a decision as to the complaints filed herein. Be aware Mr. Dotterman was advised, as were the other two Texas purchasers, that I don't think we have jurisdiction, but he did assert the statement as made by Mr. Phillips there that this was partly a Louisiana problem, and he did not wish to dismiss it. So that is why he's in this list, and the others are not. Again, we would ask for a finding as to which one of these should be able to file on his bond of $10,000. Further, we would ask for formal revocation of his license. As we discussed before, Brown's Auction, Inc., or Brown's Auction, LLC, does not have a separate license. It is licensed through Jason, Jacob, he started it, Jacob Brown. And as a result, we only have the one license number to deal with. If there are no other questions for anyone, we would pray for judgment.
Okay, the board will go into executive session.
Okay, we'll just need to do the vote.
A motion and a second.
Make a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
Mr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Lockett?
Yes.
Mr. Sims?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
And just for the record, we are pursuant to the statute, appropriate statute portion for this.
Off the record.
Come back in. Roll call vote that. I need a motion to exit executive session.
So move.
Any second?
Second.
Ms. Roll call.
Yes. Mr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Lockett?
Yes.
Mr. Sims?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes. All right, on the action here, we're going to make a motion to revoke the license number 1421 of Jacob Brown, operating Brown's Auction or any business name, and for the board to file a claim against the bond on behalf of Mr. Campbell, the LA Division of Administration, and Transcan.
Second.
Any further discussion on that motion?
You want roll call it, Sandy?
Yep.
Mr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Lockett?
Yes.
Mr. Sims?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
All right, the hearing is now concluded.
Off the record.
With regard to the matter, are you going to be preparing the...
Okay.
Our next meeting date will be September the 10th, 2018. And I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second? All those in favor? Aye. Motion, yeah, we're adjourned.
Off the record.